Okay, I got 11 o'clock, and what we're going to do next is we're going to have Shannon Smith join us, and he's going to talk about some horizontal geometry, some kind of new things in ORD, and then he's going to take that up to lunch, and then at lunch, or after lunch, we're going to continue on with Shannon for the road people, but the surveyors after lunch will go over to Jim Copeland, and he'll talk about the survey stuff. And again, that's after lunch. But for now, everybody's going to be in the same session of the horizontal geometry tools in ORD with Shannon.
So was that your introduction? I was expecting Michael Buffer.
I was going to apologize ahead of time for this next presenter and any bad jokes that he might throw out there. So just sorry about that. It's coming up.
I will have nothing to say. That is funny. I will start with the horizontal. Okay, so for this portion of the class, like Kevin said, I'm going to go over the horizontal and the vertical tools that are new and where they're located inside of the program. So to get started, if you are following along, you might want to open up a file, and we'll just create a new one, and then we'll go through the PowerPoint. So I'm going to stop sharing that part of it and share the screen. Okay, so let's go back into ProjectWise and find your location. Again, we'll be in the data folder this time. And we're going to create a brand new file. We haven't done that yet, so kind of show you what the differences are a little bit there. I'm going to go ahead and open up the very first one at the very top, that civil geometry file. So if you're going to do this at your desk, that's fine. If not, you can just watch this. But if you want to follow along in the program, you can. We're going to go into civil geometry. Insert funny thing here. Thank you. That can be edited out, please, of the actual video. Could that be edited out? That would be great. Thanks, Kevin.
I'll work on it, Shannon.
Thank you. And then put some kind of funny joke in there. That'd be great. All right, so in all the classes and everything that we've done in the past, we've always had to find our seed file, which is located out on the T drive. Well, now our seed file is located directly inside ProjectWise, and so we can default to that location now, and so that's what we're doing here. So let's create a brand new file. So under the file pull down, let's go down into new. No wizard if you get that. And as you can see, it's defaulted to a location here. Let's click on the seed option just to show you where it's going. Now it's going out to the location it's supposed to, which is under the CAD standards in ProjectWise. So it might save you a few clicks in there, but we have the MoDOT seeds for 2D and 3D, and we also have the bridge ones out there. So we're wanting the 2D seed for this one. So we'll just go ahead and open it anyway. And on this one, I'm going to give it a name, Northeast. Let's do 3181. And then let's do an underscore civil geometry. Okay, so I'll give you a second to put that in there. Chad, is that kind of what it's going to be like? Is that correct? 4 digits currently?
For new projects that are getting created now through the STIP, that's the way the naming convention is going to be.
Okay.
So the J is no longer there, or the like J5P or whatever. You know, they're removing that and they're replacing it what district it is, and then whatever number back behind it would be whenever the job gets added to the STIP. So that's something that's fairly new, but
that'll be coming down.
That'll be coming down the pipe. Now, I think me and Chris have seen a couple of jobs already that actually have that new naming convention.
Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and name your that and go ahead and click OK to enter that. And we can check back in the civil geometry. Okay, so for this drawing, it's a blank drawing. I'm going to go ahead and reference in now 3 other drawings. We've got one for a terrain, we've got a corridor out there, and we've got a civil geometry file that we're going to bring in. So to be able to get to the attach tools, if you don't have any idea where they're at, you can also type in reference up here in the search ribbon, and it'll tell you all the different places to be able to do that. We're in the Open Roads modeling workflow, so just make sure you go there. And on the Home tab, that's where we have all of these basic tools with ORD. One of them is the attach tools. Underneath that are all the different types of things that we can attach. References, rasters, point clouds, just like we always could. So I'll just go in and do attach tools references. This dialog is identical to what it used to be, so we'll just do a tools attach here. And in your attach references, we're going to do the ones with the job number on them. So I'm going to do civil geometry J5P 3181. I'm going to bring in the corridors route 54. And then down towards the bottom, we should have a terrain ORD. So I'm going to grab all 3 of those. Go ahead and add those in. And then we're going to click OK at the bottom, and then that should go ahead and do a no nesting for us automatically. That's kind of been set to default. So we'll say OK to all 3 of those. Okay, we can kill that reference box. Basically, just do a fit view, and we should see everything we have in here. Okay. Now I'm going to go in and take a look here at the PowerPoint. And we'll kind of go through that and then come back to the drawing. So first things first is the feature definitions. We still have all of our feature definitions available to us. They're just in a different spot. We also have all of our imports, exports listed in here. Our reports are in the same. Only thing that's really changed is where they're found in the ribbon. So our general tools tab is where you'll find that. So you'll see a geometry located out there, and then we'll have a general tools tab. Inside of here, we've got your civil AccuDraw, which you can kind of see down here. We can turn on civil AccuDraw, remove rules. That's all underneath your civil toggles. Okay. Our reports are listed in geometry, our imports and exports. Basically the same thing there. Design elements. We can set an active profile here, set the terrain model active. We can create civil ruled features from there. And then under standards, this is where we have all of our information that we can find for like setting a feature definition, turning on the feature definition toolbar, matching features. There's a new one down there called speed table, which we'll take a look at here in a little bit. Under reports, we've got all the different reports that we've had in the past. We've upgraded our reports to work in ORD, so we still have the one for electronic deliverables out there. We have a couple others for pavement markings that are new that we've put in there. Okay, so that's your what's underneath the general tools portion. The file menu on the backstage, we looked at that earlier. Randall showed us that. Probably going to go out and show just a little bit more, just a couple of things on how to get arc and chord switched back and forth. So you still have to do that like you used to have to do. They wouldn't fix that for us. So if you're creating a curve, you still have to go out into the settings, change it to arc, and then go draw your line, or change it to chord and then go draw your line. So that's all still the same. And like I said, Randall showed you the backstage, so we're good with that. Your horizontal geometry tools. Again, we're under the Open Roads modeling workspace. So that's that pull down at the top. This is where you find most of your Open Roads designer tools. Okay. The geometry tab is where we're going to be working mostly out of. Later on, we'll go into one of these other tabs to allow us to pretty much kind of like paint the stationing like we used to do. It doesn't work the same way, but it is available for us to do that. The horizontal area, so underneath the geometry, there'll be a horizontal, and that's what we're going to take a look at in this first portion of it. All the legacy tools are still there. So anything you had in SS10, you still have available inside of ORD. They're just, like I said, in a different location, different pull down. So finding some tools can be a little difficult because of the way that they name a lot of these main tools. You have to kind of search for where they put some of the other tools, but they're all still there. There are some new tools that we will take a look at. There's a transpose. There's a geometry builder, which is going to be more along the lines of creating parcels. And then there are a couple of point tools. If you ever used any of the point tools, I'll show a little bit about that. We don't use a lot of points in design, but if you do have points, there are ways to now do a traverse and locate points different ways. So those are some of the new tools. So the legacy tools, they're all still out there, just like I said. So if you were looking at the lines tool, the line still has line between points, line to element, all the regular tools that you used in SS10. Spirals are the same, offsets, all the same, just in a different location. The points, like I mentioned, there's a locate point and a modify point now. It used to just be points and equal space points. So we've added a couple there. Reverse curves, there's a couple of new ones in here. Line and angle is one of them. You can draw a line from an element that's out there on the screen at a particular angle to another element. So that's one of the newer ones. Modify, you can see we still have the start station where you can add a station to an alignment. You can add station equations like you always could before. And now there's a couple of new ones in here for adding an internal station, and that is to add stationing to an offset. So I'll show you how that one works here in a little bit. But if you had a station equation in your main alignment and you offset that main alignment or the offsetted alignment doesn't have a station equation in it. But this add internal station equations in single will allow you to add that same station equation to the line that you offset, which would give it the same stationing, which can be helpful. You can transpose an element now, which is basically reverse the direction of it. I'll talk about the caveats of that one. It's not as good as it sounds. And then the geometry builder and edit portion of it are down here. In your complex geometry, they're all pretty much the same. Complex by element, which is still the Chinese dragon. Complex by PI, you're defined by best fit, which we didn't use very much. And then our geometry builder tools are available down there, which is your parcel tools, really. And let's see, up here at the top in the arcs, we have all the same arc tools we had previously. So they're all still available underneath the arcs tool. So all of your circles, your simple arc and all that are still there.
Hey, Shannon,
Yep.
Somebody got behind a little bit. Can you show, they just got their file created. Can you tell them what files you wanted referenced in?
Sure. So I'm needing the civil geometry with the job number, the corridors 54 with the job number, and then the terrain ORD. So
and those are all located under roadway data, right?
Data, yes,
Yeah.
Correct.
He needs the new file. He needs to create the new file from scratch first.
Oh, he hasn't created a new file yet?
No.
Oh, okay. Seed file was the 2D seed file that comes up. So when you do a file new, here at the top, it will be defaulted to that actually. But if you pick seed, it will go to our project-wise seed files that we have out there. So we just want that design seed 2D. And if you need the name, I called it NE3181 _ civil _ geometry. And that's the 3 files I need. Okay, Chuck, just let me know when they're all, okay, good, they're all there. So I'm going to jump into some of the stuff that I think survey will be interested in. and then we will have a nice little word from Chad before we depart for lunch, and then come back and finish it up. So the ones that I kind of think maybe survey might be interested in is back underneath the geometry tools up there at the very top. Some of the ones that are new are going to be, let's see, the point tools. Point tools have a couple of new ones that you might want to mess with. If I have a couple of points out here, kind of zoom in here, and you guys can just watch this one if you want. We don't do a whole lot of points, but under the point tools, we do have some new features in here. One is to get your elevation mode. We used to only be able to type in an elevation, but now you can base it off of a plan element that has a profile associated with it, and you can get the elevation off of that profile. Or you can do a named terrain model, so you don't have to guess at what the elevation is along your terrain model. You can actually get that from here, and then get your terrain model if you have one in your file. This one's not in the current file, may not even be active, so we might have to set that as active. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that with my element selection tool, which is in the geometry also, over on the left, element selection. It's done exactly the same way. You can left click on the terrain model boundary and get the heads up, and that second tool in there is to set that one as active. One thing you will notice about this terrain model is it's green. All of our terrain model borders had been purple before, or magenta, but with the new settings, they are green for existing. I believe, Kevin, did you make them yellow for the new
design and brown for rock?
Rock, okay.
Just the boundaries, yeah.
Right. The other thing you may notice here is this is a corridor. This is what a corridor looks like now. A little bit different than it did before. These handles currently are not maybe attached to the actual corridor area, but this is what it looks like, and it's based on whether it's a final or it's preliminary or whatever. Those colors, I believe, remain the same, but the actual look of it is a little bit different now. We've also got things out here that show what an in condition exception would look like. If we've got point controls, there'll be another area showing where your point controls are at, so you can visually see where everything is at. That's kind of neat. But this points tool, jump right back into that one real quick. If I just placed a couple of points out here, just regular old points, and it says named terrain, I'm going to grab that one. So that adds that into my terrain. So that's going to get the elevations off of that. The elevation offset, I can go above or below it or whatever. Then there's a rotation mode. Again, with points, it probably doesn't matter unless you're placing some kind of a cell that you want to be rotated. Your feature definitions, so you can tell this is all the same if you've ever used points before. We've got right-of-way symbols and so forth. So if I do existing property line or something like that, I can come out here and give it a name. Say I'll make this 100. And like I said, you don't have to do this one. I don't think I like that one. I think I like maybe something down in here. Miscellaneous, there we go. I'll do a right-of-way marker. And on this one, we'll give it 0.100. And you can come out here and just basically place those points where you want them, give them rotations, and so forth, and they'll get placed. And so the next one, I'll make it 101. Place that out here. Okay. And some of the other point tools then, that's the regular point tools. Equally spaced, we always had that. This locate point, if you're a surveyor dealing with this, I don't know if you'll ever do this inside of here, placing your own points, but if you did, there's some things you can do to place another point based on angles, point of intersections, points of curves, radial. You can do a traverse, which you can tell it what point you're on, what's your backside point, and then you can give it the angle that you're going to go off at and give it a distance. Okay, so if we were going 1,000 feet at a given angle, say 45 degrees or something like that, you can do that and give it a name as well. 802. Again, give it what kind of feature it is. Okay, maybe this is a benchmark of some kind. Once you come out here on the screen, you just accept all that stuff, and it will draw that in there for you. There's the data point that it's going to place. And all we have to do is accept that, and you're going to get a traverse based on those points. So that might be cool. You might need that for something someday. You can actually place points out here right on top of your survey points in traverse, but the modify points that's under there, that's another new one. It doesn't really have a lot. It just has maybe changing the elevation. You can change that here if you want, change the value, or change the terrain model it's based off of, or off of a plan element, and then also the rotation. And then you can come out and select those, and they'll modify to that elevation. So if that's something you're interested in doing, that's one of the newer tools. Another new tool that you might be interested in is the geometry builder. The geometry builder is brand new, and we haven't found a really good use for it except for doing parcels. Okay, so it's under the complex geometry. Let's see, it's under there. Don't see it in there. Let's see. Horizontal. Oh, I was in the wrong complex geometry. Okay, geometry builder right here. I was under the vertical ones, which you can tell are easy to get to. So that is under complex geometry, geometry builder. And there's also a connector. So if you had created a parcel and you needed to add to it, you could do the geometry connector and it'll pick up where it left off. But the geometry builder tool is, it's kind of neat, I guess, if you're doing, like I said, a parcel. You can open a file so you can save these things as you create them. You can save them off as a parcel, and then you can import them in, and it'll pick up all the information that you put in there. You can also select geometry that you've drawn out on the screen, and it'll fill it in. The reason you probably wouldn't use this as a regular design tool is because the way it creates the curves and that kind of stuff inside of here is not really how we design, but you could do a parcel with that. So basically your begin point, if you're going to create a new one, you just add new geometry, and you could call this whatever you want. Maybe it's the Vollet Castle. Okay, and you give it a beginning point. You could have your XY out there if you want, or you can just come out and click a beginning point. So there's your start, and it fills that information in for you. And then after that, you basically tell it what you want to draw. You can do degrees, minutes, and seconds. You can do radians, all these different things in here, just degrees. U.S. survey feet, if that's what you're basing it off of. I know all of our surveys use the Benoit chains, but you might want to use U.S. survey feet for this. And then there's toggles that you can turn on for this. Out here to the right is create a civil ruled feature. So if you wanted the parcel to kind of be all one piece and you tell it that it's a parcel, you just turn that on and it will create civil ruled elements out there. You can create graphic elements, which is what you probably might want to do, but that would be like drawing with regular microstation lines if you have that turned on. And that's same with simple elements. They're like microstation elements. You can force tangents to be on. So if you have a arc at the end of one of these lines, you can force it to be tangent. You can modify elements. You can insert a line. So if I insert a line in here, you can come out here and you can actually draw it on the screen if you want, or you can click in here in the bearings and tell it the bearing and the distance from this XY. So if I do north 90 degrees east like it is in there, and I do 1,000 feet and enter that in, it's going to go out, go north 90 degrees east, draw my 1,000-foot line. Okay, and then it's ready for the next one then. So if you wanted to do, if you wanted to go south off that or something, you can just key in all these different bearings. And then at the very end, when you're finished, you can close it and then place it, and it will put that out there. Okay, so if I just do south, let's say 45, can go maybe 500 feet. As I enter those in, you'll start to see it create that parcel. Okay, and you just keep on adding those lines down the list. So you just add another one, and let's say that this one is northwest, and let's say we're going north and then west. Let's go back 90 degrees, say 1,000 feet. Okay, when you enter that in, it's going to do that, and then you could even snap here and close it if you want, or you can figure that out. But it'll draw the parcel in there for you. It's already closed. I can place that, and now that item has been placed in my drawing. Okay. And it's already, do you want to save the changes to the file? You can save it, and you can put that in project-wise right in there with everything else. So this is Vollett's Castle. You can save that information out, and then you can re-import it into the geometry builder. So now you have that parcel actually saved out there. You can click on it. You can modify it however you want. But that's one of the newer tools out there. When we come back, I think that's probably most of the things that survey might be interested in, because really, when you look at geometry, your horizontal tools are all pretty much the same. Your lines are here, line between point. Your complex geometry, if you're doing by PIs, is still here. And the tools are exactly the same. So you still have your radius you put in, your spirals and all that, feature definitions. Everything's exactly the same. So nothing really to show there. These are the two main tools I probably would think you might be interested in. There is a transform. Transform is all right, except for the fact that it will remove any of the rules that you have associated with an element. So now you're able to copy, rotate, scale, and then transform the Z elevation on elements that are created in the file that are civil elements. And this tool allows you to do it. We may show that one a little bit later. Like I said, the only problem with that is it takes it from basically one item like this, and it kind of breaks it down into microstation elements, and you have to complex it. So good or bad, that's what that'll allow you to do. So I think that'll.
For the surveyors, I think Jim's got an example to with that transform elements tool, okay. So they'll cover it in his session.
Okay, because that's not really a horizontal tool anyway. That's a common tool. So I think with that, I'll let Chad say what he wanted to say, and then we'll come back and do a little bit more.
Okay. I don't want to take up lunch very much, so this will only take a couple minutes. Can you see my screen, Shannon?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay. First thing is the F2 key. It does work now. So if you hit, you'll probably have to close out of, ORD and come back into it. But if you hit the F2 key, it's going to bring you to this location right here. And then you can get to our CAD training or whichever location that you want. So that is fixed. The other thing, and Kyle Whitty kind of brought this up, was the geographic coordinate system stuff. By default, it's going to pull the exact same DTY file that you're currently using in Power Geopack. Now, if you get a new machine, what you probably want to do is copy that DTY file out, and then either on a thumb drive or some location that your DCS is going to be copying files to place on your new laptop. But you probably want to copy out that DTY file that way you have it on your new laptop or your new computer that you have. And just to kind of show you that location of where it's stored at is underneath the Windows Explorer. You go to your C drive and you go to users, go to your users folder. And if you've created custom coordinate systems for a project, you will have this DTY file right here that is named whichever your user ID is. What you want to do is take that file and copy it. And then once you get your new laptop, paste it in the same location like what you have right here. That way, whenever you use ORD or even Power Geopack, you have those custom coordinate systems that you created from your previous laptop or computer that you had. So I'm kind of glad Kyle brought that up. But if you already got a new laptop and you don't have that, it's either you got to recreate that DTY file, or you have to see if IS still has your computer or your laptop and see if they can open it up or launch it and see if they can get and go back and grab that DTY file for you so you can place it on your new laptop. So just kind of wanted to show that before we broke for lunch. And if anybody has any questions on it, just let me know, and we can go from there. That's all I was going to show, Shannon.
Sounds good. Kevin, what you got?
It looks like we're going to break for lunch for 45 minutes, so come back about 20 after 12. And the road people will go to the roadway session with Shannon and Bill, and the surveyors should have been sent a link to Jim's session, so the surveyors will connect in on that session after lunch. Again, we're going to start up at 20 after 12.